What we're gonna do right here is go back. Way back. Back into time.
So I was going through my comic book collection, and I have a lot of comics from every walk of life, but this particular one is Penthouse Comics. So obviously it's got very adult themes. One of the, I think it's like the second issue, which was 1994, there was, the editor-in-chief decided to do a commentary on basically what was happening in 1994, or in the general 90s. And he's talking about political correctness. And I guess the reason I bring this to your attention is because political correctness then and political correctness now have a huge similarity and somewhat of a difference. You know, people say we haven't made any progress. This is 23 years ago. We are still talking about the same topics. So if you want to think that it's a halt in progress, that's fine. But listen to the language that's used in this, and granted it is from a men's magazine, so it's a little bit geared towards the male gender. A little bit. It's completely. I find it really interesting. I mean, they call it a political correctness test, but it's really not. It's more or less an article. So here we go. One Man's Opinion by George Caragon. Warning. It has come to my attention that some of our readers are men. Gasp. Worse, that some of you male readers may be displaying an attitude of insensitivity to the changing values of the 90s. Shudder. In short, you, gentle reader, may be politically incorrect. I know that this may shock and appall you, but have no fear. Ye old faithful editor-in-chief is here to provide relief. If you are worried that you may fail the PC litmus test that will allow you to get along in modern life, just take this simple quiz. Penthouse Comics Political Correctness Test. Just read each of the following statements and note if you agree or disagree. For each agree answer, score 1 point. Compare your score to the chart at the end of the test. Good luck! I'll comment on a couple of them, I suppose, to clarify, but I'm not necessarily going to participate. It's kind of like an in-your-head thing. It's not really a... You'll see. Just listen. Number 1. Columbus was a heroic explorer that brought civilization to half the world, which lived in a state of primitive barbarism until his arrival. Number 2. The Second Amendment of the United States Constitution was put there to protect the First Amendment. Score double points on this question if you have a bumper sticker that reads, "Politicians prefer unarmed peasants." Number 3. You agree with and admire feminists. Feminists like Camille Paglia, Margaret Thatcher, Jean Kirkpatrick, and Kay Bailey Hutchison, that is. And if you don't know who those people are, I understand. It's basically insinuating that you agree with feminists that are just strong women who believe in meritocracy, as far as I can tell. Number 4. You don't care how many acres of rainforest had to be cut down for you to enjoy that Big Mac. Number 5. You enjoy adult videos because it's the only sex you'll ever have where you can turn the sound off. Sorry, I find that one particularly humorous. Number 6. You believe the death penalty is a deterrent. It's 100% deterrent for the criminal being executed. Number 7. Dead, white, European males oppressing the earth for 500 years and now headed into space. Number 8. You don't think jokes about cutting off your spouse's genitalia are funny. Number 9. You can't wait for virtual sex to arrive. Number 10. A man is only as good as his word, and everyone is responsible for their own actions. I love number 10. Number 11. You think children are better off being raised by 2 parents, and you mean a mother and a father. Number 12. You don't discriminate against people for the race, creed, color, or actions of their ancestors, and would like it if everyone else did the same. Hear, hear. Number 13. You smoke. Count double points for this question if you smoke big, fat, smelly cigars. Number 14. Your response to animal rights activists and vegetarians is, "Hey pal, my ancestors spent 4 million years getting to the top of the food chain. I'm not coming down now." Number 15. Fuck the spotted owl. Number 16. Your idea of a terrific movie is a remake of The Magnificent Seven, starring Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Seagal, Van Damme, Charlton Heston, Chow Yun-fat, and Yaphet Kotto, directed by John Woo. And number 17. You read and enjoy Penthouse Comics, international illustrated magazine for men. Shameless plug at the end there. And on to the answers. So for your score, if you were keeping score while you're doing this, 0 to 5 points. Are you sure you picked up the right magazine? 6 to 11 points. You are on the edge of political incorrectness. If you continue reading Penthouse comics, there's no hope for you. You are an insensitive male oppressor, the cause of all evil in the world. Hang your head in shame. 12 or more points? You're one of us, pal. See you next issue. And to anyone who reads this and is offended, I say, well, that's why it's called One Man's Opinion. Anyway, so that's the article. I really enjoy this particular format. You know, it's like a test. It's kind of mocking, like in the 90s, it was super, super popular for every magazine to have quizzes and tests and you name it, because this was pre the popularization of the internet, so magazines were the only places you were going to get those quizzes and stuff. And this is an adult men's magazine just poking fun at that whole format and, of course, political correctness. Now, with the ones that I've read, I'm wondering if, you yourself could relate some of those things to today's current day, because, this was written 23 years ago, and yet it's still pertinent. And I find that really interesting. Like, these are conversations we're still having. We're still talking about the environment. We're still talking about whether or not the death penalty is effective or ineffective as a deterrent. We're still talking about feminism and sexuality and women's place in sex. We're also still talking about discrimination and smoking, and we're still talking about colonialism. We're still talking about European white males. All the things that it's mentioned, well, not all the things, most of the things that this thing is mentioned is still going on today. The conclusion that I'm drawing for myself is that the more things change, the more they stay the same. We're going to be arguing about this social justice, or back then it was political correctness, for decades to come. And that can be a good thing to some people and a bad thing to some people, and I would really like it if this would change, but I don't see it changing in my lifetime. Number 10 and number 12 are probably, to me, the most poignant parts of this one. And they are, again, a man is only as good as his word, and everyone is responsible for their own actions. That is something that I preach day and night. I believe in that. Number 12, do not discriminate against people for their race, color, creed, or actions of their ancestors, and would like it if everyone else did the same. I'm down with learning history, because in order to prevent history from repeating, the only way you'd even have a shot at that is by learning history. So I'm down with learning history. That makes sense to me. But holding modern day people accountable for what people that they don't even know are their ancestors. Like, we're talking if everyone in the States, probably Canada too, sat down and looked back through our family history, I'm sure we could find some terrible things. But what people don't seem to realize about having terrible ancestors is those terrible ancestors lived in terrible societies. You want to talk about today everything being a social construct, except when it comes to blaming people from the past. They lived in a society, but there wasn't a social construct. We have social constructs now, so, an individual can't be blamed for a group action. But once we're looking back into the past, no individual can be excused from a group action. I don't know how this duplicity escapes people. I really don't. But here we go again. I'm Moggie. It's a sick, sad world. Cheers.